Touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. All now, top corner talking home run. Touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. All now, top corner like ooh.
All right. Hello, everybody. It is Monday, April 6, 2026, and this is the Monday Report. I'm your host, H. James K., and today we're going to be talking about both Formula One and college basketball because Lord knows we can't not talk about the game that's tonight. All right, right off the top, we're going to talk about Formula One. Obviously, with the cancellation of the two Middle East rounds, the series is off for the entire month of April. No Bahrain, no Saudi Arabia. I can't say that I'm devastated. Oh no, they're not going to get to race in crazy theocratic dictatorships in the Middle East in front of fans that don't give a crap. Oh no, woe is me. Anyway, the thing is, this layoff gives these teams a very unique opportunity. An opportunity that they are going to seize on wholeheartedly because, as it stands right now, Mercedes has got everybody beat. And not just like beat, but like beat. And it leads me to believe that Mercedes isn't even trying. They're not even pushing. I think that if they were pushing, everybody would be like, oh my God, they're like a minute faster than us over the course of a stint. You know, it would be one of those kind of things. So they're sandbagging, and everyone but Red Bull is still probably going to get an engine upgrade. But I'm going to talk about that later. For right now, we're going to talk about what all the teams, you know, the Honda, Aston Martin, and Audi, and McLaren, and Red Bull, and all these different teams what are they going to be trying to accomplish during this 1 month layoff? So Honda will be trying to nail down reliability so they can focus on performance. So performance upgrades for the engines are homologated during the season unless you get what's called an ADUO. More on that later. But I do believe there is a way you can put out reliability upgrades to the engines. So it would not surprise me if during the month of April, if Honda rolls out a reliability upgrade or 3 for the power unit because it is so horrifically unreliable. And they had some fixes in Japan, but they didn't have a lot of spare, so they couldn't really use them all the time. So hopefully they'll be able to build more spare parts and incorporate what they've already done and develop new reliability fixes so that they can start unlocking the power that their engine may or may not have, because it's so unreliable. We don't even know if the Honda engine is good at all. I don't think it is, but we don't even really know. And because the team has so many problems with reliability right now, Aston Martin can't even really focus on fixing the aero and the mechanical grip of the car because they don't even know if they're good or not. You know, they got the vibration problems they're trying to deal with, and the power unit's got problems. So they're trying to fix reliability so they can just pivot to performance, let alone actually focusing on performance. So for Honda and Aston Martin, it's all about reliability for the next month. That's it. That's their sole goal, is nail down the reliability so they can be done with the whole thing and focus forward on getting faster. Audi is in a similar boat. They are also hoping to find reliability so that they can capitalize on their qualifying pace. So there's more to the qualifying pace and their lack of capitalization than just reliability. But the fact that I think it's Nico Hülkenberg hasn't started 2 races this year, you know, hasn't started the races with everyone else, that's a problem. That speaks to an issue where they've got single lap pace. They do. They've gotten into Q3 more than once. But then they go backwards because their car has some aerodynamic limitations that are only exacerbated by some engine philosophies, stuff that they chose to do, during the off season. So they will be looking to fix some of the mechanical issues and some of the aerodynamic stability stuff that they've got going on and reliability while waiting for the ADUO engine waiver thing to go through, which will not be in the month of April. But more on engine stuff in our next segment. But McLaren McLaren is in a different boat. They're just trying to unlock performance of the Mercedes engine and, to a lesser extent, find reliability in the Mercedes engine parts. So McLaren is, I think, easily the third best team. I think Ferrari's got them beat, and Mercedes has clearly got them beat. But they have some... Let me just silence my phone real quick. They have some limitations from an aerodynamic and mechanical grip side. They do. That goes without saying. But it's hard to even ascertain how much of a deficit it really is while they continue to struggle to harvest less energy regen than Mercedes, and they have less efficient power deployment than Mercedes, and worse reliability than Mercedes and Alpine, the other Mercedes customer team. So for McLaren, they're just trying to unlock the Mercedes power unit just so that they can start seeing where they actually stand. Because right now, some think that they have a good chassis, but they don't know if they have a really good chassis, or if they're like nowhere and it's just the Mercedes engine is dragging them along. Nobody even knows because they can't really fully utilize the Mercedes power unit to the best of its potential. And so they're going to be focusing all month on learning from the data they've collected over 3 races and trying to nail down some of the weird battery gremlins and energy regen gremlins that have gotten Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris over the course of the season so far. Red Bull, I think it's pretty obvious that they've sorted their engine out. Their engine is pretty good. By all accounts, their engine is not the problem with that car. But the problem with that car is that it's a fried turd. It is an evil, flaming disaster of a car. Isaac Hadjar and Max Verstappen, the 2 drivers, have both complained about the fact that it'll have snap understeer in one corner and then snap oversteer in a completely different corner or even a different lap for no explainable reason. It will alternate between front end instability and rear end instability for no explainable reason, and what it does is it makes it hard for drivers to have confidence in the car going into a corner. Because if you don't know what the hell it's going to do, how can you really throw it into a corner and just trust that it's going to catch it and be there, that the car is going to be there with you the whole way? You can't trust it. So for right now, they're just trying to figure out what is wrong from an aerodynamic and mechanical grip standpoint that makes their car so bad. Because from all accounts, Max Verstappen's opinion of the car is that the car is terrible, that it is mediocre, that it has no redeeming qualities. The car is a disaster. The car puts them firmly in the midfield. Red Bull is not even a contender. They're not even close to being a contender. They're duking it out with Audi and Haas and fricking Alpine. They should be up there with McLaren and Ferrari and especially Mercedes, but they're not. So while their engine is pretty good, by all accounts, they got to figure out what's going wrong with their Red Bull aerodynamics before they can even start thinking about fixing them. They don't even know what's wrong with the car yet. So they're going to be in the simulator and going over data that they've collected, and they're going to be doing anything they can think of to develop their way out of whatever issue they are searching for that is making this car so unbelievably unstable. Williams has a different issue. They're just freaking heavy. By all accounts, they're something like 30 kilograms overweight, which is, I think, like 66 pounds, 70 pounds, somewhere in there, I think. Let me do some quick math real quick. 30K, 66 pounds, yeah. Wow, I totally got that right. I'm horrible at math in my head. Go me. So they're trying to shave 66 pounds out of the car. That's how overweight the car is. And they say that you're like, it's a quarter, 3/4 of a second per 10 pounds overweight. So there is all possibility that their car could be significantly faster than it is right now just by figuring out a way to get excess weight out of the car. Because it isn't that there is a weight limit. There's a weight minimum, and if you don't make the minimum weight, then you are overweight. So they're just 30 pounds over the minimum when everyone else is trying to get right at the minimum. So for Williams, their entire thing is just going to be trying to get lighter. You get lighter, you get faster. You get faster, you get better results. That's it. It's all about weight saving. Now, the problem is, it's hard to shave 66 pounds of weight out of a Formula One car that's mostly made out of strong feelings and carbon fiber. It's like tissue paper with tires on it. So it will be a very challenging month for Williams, but that's what they're trying to do. If they can cut the weight out, they'll be so much faster, and they'll definitely be an upper midfield contender with ease. They'll be challenging for 4th and 5th place in the Constructors, no doubt, as soon as they can figure out what's going on with their weight. As soon as they can figure out a way to solve that problem. All right, I had to take a drink. Now, on top of all of this other data, the other thing that these teams are going to be doing is they're going to be looking over all of the engine data that they've collected, trying to learn from the data what they can glean. Now, they cannot yet develop new parts or design anything, but if they can try to find lessons to learn from the engine data that they've collected over the course of 3 race weekends. So this all comes down to what's called ADUO. Now, this is an acronym that I don't know what it means. But basically what it is if you're not within 2% performance of the Mercedes power unit, you can get a one-time waiver this season for this period to develop a performance upgrade to help close the gap, because the engine development is frozen during the season. It's homologated. I guess it was homologated back in December. So these teams who, like Red Bull, doesn't fall into the ADUO category. Their engine is good enough that it doesn't need a waiver. But Honda, Audi, and Ferrari all have a deficit large enough that they need a waiver to possibly catch up. So, as previously mentioned, I mentioned how Red Bull appears to be good, but Audi's problem is a philosophical one. So, they went the wrong way. When they were building their car, they went with a big turbo for performance reasons. Now, the problem is, a big turbo is hard to spool. It just is. Now that they don't have the MGU-H to help spool the turbo, it takes a long time for an engine with a big turbo to spool up and build boost at the race start. So what we're seeing is happening is the car's engine has power, and the package with their car can get them into Q3. And then they try to start the race, and they can't build up enough power, enough boost, and they've lost something like 19 places and 3 starts. 19 total as a team. That is horrifically bad. In other words, lights out and away we go, and they go backwards. Every time. They do not go forwards because their engine has trouble building boost at the race start, and it takes them a while to build a head of steam and to get the power that they need to fight. And by then, it's too late. You've lost track position. You got to seize those opportunities at the race start. So I doubt it is possible for Audi to fix this issue in a couple of months. This is a much bigger issue that's probably going to need a rethink of the entire engine architecture and philosophy during the off-season. But for now, maybe they can come up with solutions to help augment, to help kind of smooth over those issues and just kind of get around them, to kind of avoid them. Like, I know you're out there, but I ain't looking at you, man. Something like that. So their whole thing is going to be trying to find solutions to mask a problem that they probably cannot actually deal with until October, December, somewhere in there. So Honda, they're looking for the aforementioned reliability, but their engine is also significantly down on power. By all estimations, they are like 100 horsepower down on everybody, because their engine just is underbaked. It's something like 12 months newer than everyone else from a development timeline standpoint. So for them, the engine... look at it this way. So everyone was lining up for a race. There's 7 people. There's 7 people taking place in the race. And 6 of them got started on January 1st. But the 7th didn't get started until May. Now, by August, he has caught up to them, but he's had to work significantly harder, and it's had a deleterious effect on his race outcomes so far. He's expended more energy for worse results, and he's still trailing behind. He's worked hard to try and catch up, and he's almost caught up. But he hasn't really caught up because he didn't even start at the same time as everyone else. When these rules were announced, Honda was still wishy-washy on whether they were going to walk away from Formula One at all. So by the time they decided to get back in, they had moved their engine development team everywhere. So I guess the culture at the Honda Performance Division in Japan is that engineers go to the Formula One team to learn and be coached up. It's like a maturing process before they are sent to other more important projects for Honda. So Honda's Formula One power unit division doesn't retain mid-level talent as much as some other teams. They cycle through a lot of their own guys, teaching them up, which is great from a corporate standpoint because you're getting a lot of guys' experience, but from a performance standpoint, it does have an effect. When you decide to send all your good engine guys elsewhere and then decide to restart the project, well, there's a brain drain. So not only are you dealing with the fact that you're 12 months behind, you're dealing with a knowledge gap that you just cannot overcome in a timely manner. So for Honda, they're trying to catch up as much as they're trying to increase reliability. They're trying to make up ground in the development game of their engine to get their engine just to where Ferrari and Red Bull and Mercedes were in January. That's all Honda is trying to do. So that's their arduous, mountainously tall task that they've got to go. And Ferrari, they're searching for a top-end performance. So back in October of 2025, Ferrari brought up the fact that without the MGU-H, it's going to be hard to spool the engines. Do you think we should change the pre-start rules? We've talked about this before, and everyone said, no, change your car. So Ferrari did. They went with a significantly smaller turbo that would allow them to build boost faster so they could spool their engine in time. And now this has had great effects because on the race starts, they're really, really good. But it has been at the cost of high-end power for the engine. So Ferrari is going to be looking for a way to get the power deficit between them and Mercedes narrowed at least a little bit, because their engine philosophy is just going to have limitations from an architectural, philosophical standpoint. But if they can find ways to claw back some of the deficit right now, maybe they can use that as a springboard to close the gap with Mercedes in the future. So they're going to be trying to find ways to get top-end performance in an engine that really isn't designed for top-end performance. It's a sticky situation for a lot of these teams. And this is all, and the ADUO thing, I guess, is supposed to be handed down in May or June. I think it's June is when the ADUO waivers are going to go out. So for right now, these teams are just going to be going over data to prepare for that time period. But all of the ADUO stuff is theoretical because the FIA hasn't yet released who is actually going to get one. We know that Honda and Audi are going to get one. There's just no way they're not. But does Ferrari get one? I think probably, but because they're a little closer to Mercedes than Audi and Honda. Maybe they don't, maybe they do. I think all three will, but it remains, it's up in the air. We don't know because the FIA hasn't made a decision. So we're still waiting on that stuff. All right, now that we're 19 and a half minutes into this episode, let's talk about Michigan basketball real quick. So Michigan absolutely beat the crap out of Arizona. Holy crap, man. They beat them 91-73, I think, or it was 91-77, 91-72. It was like 91-70 something, and it was never in doubt. Michigan never trailed. They led by double digits most of the way, and they did this with Elliot Cadeau shooting horribly and Yaxel Lindbergh not playing for the majority of the game. He played 14 total minutes. He had 2 fouls in the first 89 seconds of the game. He shot 2 buckets and got 5 points, and then he basically left after the first 4 minutes of the first half and didn't come back until halftime. And he went out there, played for like 10 minutes, shot 2 buckets, and that was basically it for his day. He finished the day with like 11 points or something. He played like 14 total minutes, and that's because Yaxel Lindbergh, he got hurt. He landed on the foot of another player, and it hurt his ankle and his knee on his left leg. Now, Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan basketball, has said that the imaging came back clean, and Yaxel Lindbergh has already said he's playing, so we can expect some version of him to be playing. As for the game against UConn, so UConn does not have as high-powered an offense as Michigan. They just don't. But what they do have is disciplined play and, how do I put this? They have disciplined play and they know how to shoot. The UConn Huskies do a lot of movement on the perimeter. They do tons of switching, tons of setting screens, pick and roll, that kind of stuff. They do tons of movement to get mixed match, to then shoot the ball, to fire the ball inside to get a bucket or to shoot a 3. They do tons of movement to create mismatches and get opportunities. And that can cause problems for susceptible defenses. Now, Michigan, at least per Ken Pom, which is the analytics rating through which basically basketball teams are judged, Michigan has been number 1 in Ken Pom in the tournament. They're averaging 90 points a game on offense, and they're averaging somewhere around 70 on defense, and they're just beating the tar out of everybody. So, for Michigan, they're going to have to hope that guys like Cheddar and Ade Mera and Elliot Cadeau and all of these other guys can maintain their discipline when they're switching on defense and when they're passing off offensive players and keeping discipline with who they're defending. If they can do that and stay out of foul trouble, they'll be able to contain UConn's offense. Now, the thing that UConn did with Duke in the Elite Eight is they got 16 points off of Duke turnovers in the second half, and Duke got none in the other direction. So for Michigan, it's going to be about staying out of foul trouble and being careful with the turnovers, because this UConn team is really good about capitalizing on turnovers. They're well coached. They play really good D. They're not as explosive, and if UConn is going to win, it's going to be because they dragged Michigan down into a mud pit, and the game was like 73-72 or 79-77 or 79-78. It's going to be one of those. If it's like Michigan is getting up into the 90s, I just don't believe that UConn has any chance of playing a game like that. I just don't think they have the horses, and that's not even a slight at UConn. It's just this Michigan team is the greatest Michigan basketball team ever, and at least according to Charles Barkley, it's one of the greatest teams he's seen in the tournament since he's been covering it for television. This team is just ridiculous, and they did it without Yaxel Lindbergh last night. They beat the crap out of a really good Arizona team last night without their best player for the overwhelming majority of the game. So for Michigan, if Michigan can keep pushing their tempo and playing their game and making the game feel like a Michigan game that's just any other game, they can win a national championship. But if they're careless, they get into foul trouble, they start turning the ball over and giving up transition points, and they're making mental mistakes on defenses when there's all the motion, then UConn can beat them. But it's definitely going to be, UConn is going to have to elevate their game to match Michigan, because Michigan has been playing like this all season. They just play the same game all the time. They just beat the crap out of you with precision and crazy depth and great teamwork, and they just execute the same every time. So it's up to you, UConn. Can you do it or not? If UConn can hold up their end of the bargain, if they can elevate themselves, and they can win the championship and ensure that the Big Ten continues their 25-year drought of a national championship. Like, the Big Ten has not won a championship in men's basketball in the 21st century. And Michigan hasn't done it since like 1999 or some crazy shit like that. Pardon my language. So this game for Michigan, this game has got a lot riding on it. If this Michigan team wins a chip, they are automatically the greatest Michigan team ever. They've passed the Fab Five. They're already basically tied with the Fab Five. But if they win a championship, they're automatically the greatest ever. They're like the 2023 Michigan Wolverines, the greatest team in the history of Michigan football. So that's what this Michigan basketball team can be. Now, it's going to come down to Elliot Cadeau playing another game where even though his shot wasn't falling, he was dominating in the flow of the offense, and he was playing great defenses. And the guard position for Michigan is going to have to play really well because UConn has some pretty dang good guards, and they got some big guys in the middle who aren't afraid of contact. So it's definitely going to be one of these things where certain guys, especially because Yaxel Landeberg is hurt, because of that, it's going to be up to a lot of the other guys to kind of pick up the slack in certain areas. But if this Michigan team just plays like a team and plays their game and pushes their tempo and just does their thing, they will win a championship. And I am predicting that Michigan will win the championship game probably 82-72, 82-71, somewhere in there. You know, it'll be close, but then fouling and the gap widens and that kind of thing. So 82-71. I don't think Michigan gets to 90 just because UConn, coached by Dan Hurley, is just that well coached on defense. They're just that good. But 82-72 is my prediction for the game. So, for those of you listening on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and everywhere else that podcasts are available, thank you. For those of you watching on YouTube, please consider liking, subscribing, hit the bell icon to get notifications, and please leave a comment because it helps with the algorithm so people will actually see my podcast. I got a 10 subscribers, so we're back up to 10 subscribers. Thank you. I don't know who you are out there, but I appreciate the hell out of it. We finally got back up to 10. Can we get to 15? Let's make it happen, folks. All right. My name is H. James K. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time.